Module 7. We're almost done with the class. This module focuses specifically on parent education. And parent education is one of those things that kind of started family life education. In fact, the history of family life education often started in the late 1800s with women who had some time on their hands, who met together and said, this is what family life ought to be like. And one of the topics they spent a lot of time on was parenting. What was ironic about that is that other people were raising their children. They had nannies and au pairs and other things that helped them to be able to spend time together and to figure out what family life should look like when they weren't necessarily engaged in the day-to-day. But they gave us some really good information and we've built on it over and over again. But let's face it, families are changing consistently. And family size has changed from large families to smaller families. We've had great fluctuations and a decrease in fertility. And so we have to be aware that some of those things are going on. Parent education is one of those things where we look for magic moments. And what I mean by a magic moment is a time when individuals are open to education. No one wants to admit, I'm a terrible parent. I need to come and take a class. Instead, what we need to look for are moments where people are open to learning. In fact, one of those things that might be the best magic moment is when couples are having their first child. Many people will go and take a birthing class. And what's really funny is that most birthing classes really aren't solely about birthing. There's about 5 to 10% of the class that really has to do about birthing. And a lot of it has to do with infant care and safety and seats and bathing and clothing and changing diapers and foods and what time you can introduce this or that or the other. Why? Because we just don't come with that knowledge. We don't have that knowledge. And so we go and seek it out. We have to look for those magic moments when people are willing to seek out additional information. And so parenting is one of those things that we look for those things. So maybe the early forms of parenting focus a little bit on birthing and infant care, and that's great. And you can do that class. The next class might focus on toddlers. So 2 and 3-year-olds and the tantrums and language development and all of those things that they might be facing. What are the milestones that they should be hitting? And when should they be hitting that? And why is my kid not walking at this age and talking at this age and doing X, Y, or Z at this age? Parents often will come with questions because they fear something isn't going right. And so it's important for us to be there on the forefront, giving them the information that they might need. The next time we might get them is when we need to focus on discipline. As kids get a little bit older, we see the physical dependence on parents go down. I don't have to carry my children anymore. I don't have to pick them up when they're throwing a tantrum or make sure they're bathed and doing those things. They start to do those things on their own. So I'm not as parenting is less physical and more verbal than it's ever been. And kids tend to start to push back as they get that identity. They'll push back on some of the things that parents are asking of them. Parents want their kids to do what they ask. And sometimes that's difficult. And so we help parents to understand that using rewards and consequences can help them to get what they want, and helping them to understand that the most important part of discipline is being consistent and predictable and stable and just doing the same thing over and over again so that the kids understand mom's not going to go away from this. She's not going to say yes. I just need to accept that. It's a wonderful opportunity to learn much about what to do with kids. And teaching discipline is one that you'll have to do across many age groups. Then we come to things like teenagers and trying to understand what teens are like. Right now, I have one teenager that's grown out of teenage years and into her 20s. And it's really interesting to see because she's already said, Dad, I'm so sorry for this and that and that. And now I get it. You were right about these things. I have 2 other kids, one 18 and one 16. They're not ready to admit that they don't know everything right now. They think they do. They have to move away a little bit from family life so that they can create their own identity. And so a lot of times they will reject what they think their parents would say or do just to create space so that they can ultimately choose something close to what their parents do. We often say that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, and most kids will eventually wind up much like their parents. Even though they don't want to, they will, because that's the training and language and whatever that they've developed, unless they want to become a transitional character and do something totally different. So during the teen years, we have to help parents learn how to hold on, to continue to enforce the rewards and consequences, and to figure out what those rewards and consequences really are. Is it the car keys? Is it the cell phone? Is it the ability to go and visit friends? We have to figure out what's working and help them to establish rules. At the same time, parents have to start to give up some of that control and let their teenager do more and more on their own. And that's going to be vital for them to learn how to do. It's a really tough balance, and parents are going to need help along the way to be able to do that. Parents may also want to know how family life should function, how we should balance everything that needs to go into it. So there's a variety of things that might come up. There's also special topics in parenting that might come up. Things like autism or learning disabilities or, other physical disabilities. When things don't go quite how we expect, sometimes there's unique challenges with like criminal behavior, juvenile delinquency, or other things that are going on that will require substance use or other things that aren't necessarily planned. Parent education has to be multiple, and we have to be ready for a variety of audiences. Some who are willing to be there, some who aren't. Maybe we're doing court-ordered family life education for parents who have already gotten into the system and their kids have been maybe removed until they can figure out how not to be abusive or to change the patterns that they have. So parent education is one of those important things that we need to figure out. And it's one that people are more open to often than relationship education, because relationship education says a lot about who I am. Parent education is when I'm really frustrated and I just need some help. Sometimes I'll be open to those things. So what we want to do is help parents to find out what might work best for them and to respect their values as we're doing this, because we may have racial differences or ethnic differences or cultural differences or power differences that we have to consider in this project or in this time frame, in this area that we're trying to educate. This is going to require great flexibility from a family life educator. And sometimes people are going to disagree with you. You have to understand that it's not you. In fact, one of the hardest things for a lot of family life educators are to educate parents when they don't have kids, or to educate parents with kids that are older and maybe they have kids, but their kids are young, but they're trying to teach about teenagers. A lot of times those parents are coming and they're asking for, what are you going to teach me? What do you know? What can you help me with? And really when it comes down to it, what parents need is good information. And it doesn't matter who it comes from. And one of the things you can do as a family life educator is say, you know what? You're looking for good information. You want something that's going to help. You want to be able to make a difference in your child's life. Yeah, that's exactly what I want. Great. Stick with us. Let us see if we can't give you some information that'll help you to find something that you can use. And as you find that, you can trust that information to help. It's not about you as a younger individual. It's about their need. And parents are needy. That's why they show up. That's why they're there. So get into this module and start to learn about parent education and some of the various audiences that we can reach out to. Good luck with some of the major assignments. We're almost to the end. We're working on presenting out to our population. And so it's very important that you have those lesson guides and lesson outlines done so that you can present to that audience and have a quality interaction because you have those activities at a tell, show, and do level. So good luck with those and keep going. We're almost to the end.